Rainier Avenue Radio.world is your 24/7 digital media hub. Tune in at Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and TuneIn apps.
You're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world in our special edition of the impact of the coronavirus on South Seattle and surrounding communities. Joining me is the Executive Director of the Emergency Feeding Program, Mr. Glenn Turner. Glenn, are you there with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. This is it's already an extraordinary situation. And for those of you who were anticipating that you would be seeing this on Zoom as well as our audio streaming, Mr. Turner, you just shared some information with me, and that just happened. Would you mind sharing with our listeners again, as already a tragedy, but what just happened?
Yeah, we experienced a theft in the back of our complex. Food Services was gracious enough to donate a refrigerated and freezer trailer so that we could store our meats and dairy products. And someone came in and stole all of the fuel. I don't know how long it's been down. I went down to check it this morning, and it was down. And those particular type of trailers have to be specially primed. So we've been working to get a hold of the company. You know, nobody's at work, so basically it's a phone chain. So we finally got to someone who can come out and prime it for us, but you know, food's been sitting in there all day, not under refrigeration, so we'll more than likely lose a lot of it. And that's the primary reason why you're not seeing me face to face, because this is a big blow to our organization.
Well, I want to say, first of all, Mr. Turner, thank you for the work that you do, that you were doing before the coronavirus pandemic, and what you have been doing since then. So thank you for that work. For anyone who may be unfamiliar, a lot of times you don't hear about the services that you provide until this type of crisis. Can you give us some background information on the Emergency Feeding Center, who you are, what you do, and why this is something that you thought, why you felt you needed to be engaged and put together?
So just to give you a little background on the organization, this is our 44th year of existence. We've been providing basically shelf-stable food for, you know, the past 35 years, making sure that people in the community were being fed. We serviced schools, DSHS throughout the county and into Snohomish County. We provided food for mental health services, for you name it. We probably provided food for them. And once we knew that the coronavirus is in place, we reached out to a couple of different food vendors, you know, asking them about, you know, helping us to support us to get us through this, because, you know, from all the information that I was provided, it was going to be a pretty heavy thing, which resulted in, you know, people not going to work, people losing pay. So we took this crisis and we turned it around. We reached out to Safeway, Albertsons, to different organizations, Amazon, and they provided us with shelf-stable food, and they also provided us with fresh food. So that's what we're doing now. We're providing food to schools, or not schools, I apologize for that, to different organizations that are helping to support schools. We work with Big Brothers and Big Sisters. They have 9 locations in which they serve. We have a total of about 30 locations which we serve that include nursing homes, different facilities that are still in operation, Boys and Girls Club, places like that, that we make sure that, you know, people are still being fed, because it's a major crisis. And one of our biggest contributions is giving back is through our drive-through process, so that we keep social distancing in place. We have people line up and drive through, and we actually pack their cars with the food that we're distributing. So it takes great effort. I have a lot of great volunteers. My staff has been working overtime. Um, we're trying to do our best to make sure that we're helping the Black and Brown community, because those are the ones that are least served in every situation. So, we get a lot of, we don't discriminate against anybody, but we want to make sure that we're getting food out to the Black and Brown communities, because we're the ones that are going to suffer the most in this crisis.
And what I'd like to do now, before I ask you a few more questions, is please tell us what you need. For anyone listening right now, what your needs are, what folks can provide. I'm going to assume money is always good, because then you can get the food that you need. If you're
Right.
just tuning in, Mr. Turner's sharing with us that a refrigerator was broken into, and a line was broken, and food is going bad, and we're already in a tragedy situation. I think folks may or may not know, but if you don't know, when you get into a situation like this and things are getting worse, people start to resort to different things. So if you're thinking, who would break into a place that is providing food? People get desperate at these times.
Yeah.
So you can address that if you want to, and then also just tell us how folks can help you, what you need, where they can come to help if it's volunteer, where they can donate money, if there's types of foods that you're looking for. Shamelessly tell us what you need so the community can come to you and assist you like you've been assisting the community.
Absolutely. Well, just to give you a little more information. We are really strapped for money. We've been passed over by all the government organizations. We do have a couple of corporate sponsors, but that's all limited. We're almost in a desperate state of trying to keep our doors open. We get plenty of food. The food is not the issue. It's about the operations. Keeping the lights on, being able to turn the key. The organization or the business that we rent our space from has been gracious enough to give us a grace period. But, with that being said, we're not generating enough revenue to really cover those costs. So, we have a GoFundMe page, and then we have our website, www.emergencyfeeding.org, and there's a donate button on that site. Folks can go there to donate revenue. We're just in a challenged state right now. Not with food. Don't get me wrong. That's not a necessity at this point. But we're really strapped for cash right now.
So there is a need, like any other business. You have bills
Absolutely.
you have to pay.
Yes, absolutely.
And that may not be something that people associate with the program like yours. And so,
Right.
again, give us that information about how folks can donate money to you to help you keep your doors open. The last thing that we want to have happen is have a service that is providing for the community in a time of crisis not be there to provide the service that you're providing, because you can't keep the lights on. You the electricity is not, whatever it is. Give us that
Right.
information again.
So you can go to our website. You have access to contribute directly to us through www.emergencyfeeding.org, or you can go to our GoFundMe page, which there's a link that's on our webpage. You can go to that. That's something where we're trying to raise funds so we can stay in operations. There's also, you can mail contributions to us, to the Emergency Feeding Program. Our address is 851 Hauser, Houser Way North, Suite A, Renton, Washington, 98057. So those are the most direct ways to send money to us. Or you can even come by and drop it off. We're at a stage right now where we're just reaching out to the public saying, hey, We want to do our part. We want to be able to help supply people food, making sure these babies aren't going hungry, and we need your help to continue this process.
Again, you're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio .world. My guest is Glenn Turner, Executive Director for the Emergency Feeding Program. Mr. Turner, what made you decide to get into this line of work?
It's funny you asked me that question because the stories. I'm by nature I'm a basketball coach. I worked for the Department of Ecology for the state of Washington for a number of years. My background is in environmental science, and my wife and I moved and bought a new home, and we started going to a new church. And the deacon of that church asked me out to lunch, and he introduced me to the emergency feeding program by having me volunteer. I came in and volunteered, and a couple of weeks later, he said, "Well, the real reason I wanted to talk to you was to see if you'd be willing to come to work at the emergency feeding program." And at that stage, I said no. I've got other things going on. And so he came back to me a couple of weeks later and basically broke down what he wanted me to do. He wanted me to take his job. And I said no for a second time. And I went home, and it was probably a couple of days later, I had this very vivid dream about what needed to be done here. I don't know what happened, but that overwhelmed me, and I went back to him and I said, if the job's still available, I'll take it. And so I took the job. At that time, I found out that the program was deeply in debt. So when I got here, it was just like, it was crazy. I didn't understand what was going on, but I was able to raise the capital to keep the program afloat. And I've been here nearly 8 years, and we've just rode the wave. We're the only Black organization that does what we do. And I can tell you, it's a challenge. It's a challenge dealing with the establishment and how they function. We always come in at the bottom when the revenue comes in. We're always double questioned about, how we're doing business and how we're maintaining every day. The challenges are more so with dealing with the funding sources than it is getting food in here. Mm-hmm. We have a great network of stores and programs that help supply us food, but the challenge is always, trying to source that government fund. It's like, we'll give you what's left over, and that's usually not much. And that's my biggest disappointment about being in this position, is that we are always looked at as the last, not the ones that are out there providing food to people on an everyday basis. We provide food in emergency situations such as this. We deploy snack packs to different schools. We make sure people are being fed in our community. There's no barriers to getting food from us. And, most food banks and other organizations that provide food, you have to live in a zip code. Well, we don't care what zip code you live in. We don't care what your skin color is. We don't care about anything except providing you food. So that's, that was my biggest motivation, is being able to help, the different communities that are suffering from food insecurity.
Now, Mr. Turner, you mentioned you help everybody. It doesn't matter what zip code you come from. It doesn't matter if you are in need. That's what you are there for. But I want to make sure what I heard you say. You said you were the only one.
Yes.
And when you say the only one, tell us again, when you say the only one, what you are the only one of.
We are the only African-American food source I know of in this community. I don't know about on the other side of the Rockies, but I know that, it's in the state, we are the only African-American food system that provides free food to families in need.
The only one in the state?
Correct. Because we support churches, we support all those other organizations that are providing food to their communities. Mm-hmm. We're the partner in those groups. Otherwise, you have Food Lifeline, Northwest Harvest, and Second Harvest that they're the largest in the state. They're tied to, multi-state organizations. So they're much larger than we are. I mean, we have a budget of less than $1 million, and I know that Northwest Harvest, their budget is up over $44 million a year. So
oh, go ahead.
No, so that's where our challenge comes in. We provide food for tons of people, but we're limited because the resources that we seek are just not there.
Once again, if you're interested in donating to the emergency feeding program, well, let me start with it. Emergency feeding program is exactly what it is. If before all of this, if you're hungry, that's an emergency.
Absolutely.
That is an emergency. In addition to that, there was a robbery that took place, a burglary that took place at your facility.
Yes.
And you lost, lines were cut. You have a refrigerator that needs to be repaired because now on top of it, food is spoiling, and you have to have that line repaired. Is that what it is for the refrigeration? Yeah,
it has a fuel tank. It's a separate trailer, and they came in and just siphoned all the fuel out of the tank, and the food's sitting there. It's locked. We got one of those security locks on them, so they couldn't break in the trailer to get the food, so they stole the fuel.
They stole the fuel.
Right.
Okay, right. So once again, where and how can folks donate to you? And the need is money. You need money. You've got food. The need is money for a number of different things, because if you have the money, whatever you need, you can get it yourself.
Absolutely.
So again, how and where can folks donate to you?
Okay, so you can donate to us on our website, which is www.emergencyfeeding.org, or you can reach out to us. You can also reach out to us by phone. I didn't mention that earlier, but we can take your credit card over the phone. The phone number is 425-277-0300, and just let us know that you want to make a donation. And then there's also the ability to mail checks into us, and that address is 851 Hauser, Houser, Way North, Suite A, Renton, Washington, 98057. Those are the three most direct ways to provide funding to our program, so we can keep this thing going. I mean, there's a lot of people that are hungry out here, and I can tell you, when we have our drive-through, cars lined up past the CDOT facility. They wrap around our block. So, we have 200 to 300 cars that come through here Monday through Wednesday, and we're providing food to those families and to those individuals that are being affected by the COVID-19 virus.
And again, Mr. Turner, I was saying that if you're hungry, that's an emergency. And so we hadn't even gotten to this question yet, and you just kind of led into it. What has been the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on what you do and how you do? Again, keeping in mind that it's already called the Emergency Feeding Center. People in crisis are already coming to you because of food insecurity. What has the impact of the coronavirus done to you as the only black entity in the state that does what you do in regards to food insecurity? How have you been impacted?
Well, one, financial impact is probably the most prevalent. But, the numbers of people that we serve has dramatically increased. The poundage of food, we distribute more than 70,000 pounds of food a week, where in previous years, we were producing less than 200,000 pounds of food a year to give out, because most of it was shelf stable. And it's the type of food that, they're canned goods. There's nothing fresh we were providing like we are now. We're providing fresh tomatoes, fresh lettuce, non-processed foods. Everything we get is right out the cooler. It's not something that is sat in a warehouse for, 2 or 3 years before it's being distributed. We're getting it fresh, ready to go to the table, We're getting from farm right to our doorstep. And that's what we're providing people. And I think that's why our lines keep growing, because it's such a different level of food intake. It's healthy. It's supportive. It's these things that, we should have been getting since the day we were born. But, through the grace of God, we've been provided this level of feeding so that we can help the community. And I think in some ways it could be even helping in keeping the level of virus that's being spread in this community. So, we're doing our best job in making sure that we're providing the community with good, healthy, fresh food.
And that's also a great point that I'm glad that you brought up, the understanding of the need to provide not just food, but healthy food. And Mr. Turner, I want to give you the opportunity here for final words that you may want to say to our listeners. And I'll say this again on this Friday as we have this broadcast for the coronavirus epidemic. Our initial goal was to make sure that South Seattle and surrounding communities' voices were heard, entities and businesses and providers like yourselves' voices were heard. Maybe it's because at the time folks considered us the epicenter of this. Our audience grew regionally and even nationally and even internationally. So keeping that thought in mind, but again, with our primary goal of serving the folks in our community, we are keenly aware that there are folks in other areas who are going through the same thing, learning from what we do, hearing about what's going on in our community, and during a time of isolation where there are not a lot of places for people to get information about what's happening in their own community. What is it that you want to say to folks who are listening right now?
First off, I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak on your program. We're a small organization, but we have a huge purpose in this community. And I just want people to know that we're here, and we will continue to provide the food that we are given to make sure that the community is very well fed, that we're providing healthy, nutritious food. We want to make sure that our community stays strong. We're small, but, we have great intention and big intention. We know that with the support of the community, we can even do more. This is a time where, we got to stop looking at ourselves from this siloed position. We have to come together as a community. We have to come together as family. We got to come together because we're not looking at this thing going away in a couple weeks. We're in this for the long haul, I believe. I just think that there's so much more that we're not being informed of about this disease that we need to start putting together family plans. We need to start helping each other, lending a hand to your neighbor. Stop looking at him as an adversary, looking across those color lines and, really coming together, not just as a family or a community, but as a nation. We're facing something that we've never faced before. There's been nothing that has ever shut down the entire world. This is something that has shut down the entire world. And now we're looking around trying to figure out who's going to fix this. Well, it starts with you. It starts with you giving a hand to a neighbor, giving a hand to a friend, giving a hand to somebody. So people won't break into our yard and steal our fuel or try to steal our food. We can't completely obliterate that, but if we start working together, we start providing for each other and helping each other, then I think we can curb a lot of the things that are going on right now, and we can slow this virus down to where we can manage it instead of it just spreading and spreading and spreading. This is our opportunity to show that we are human, and there is humanity in this world, and there is love, and we can move forward. This is going to change the entire world. People think they're going to go back to the same thing they were doing before. In my heart and my mind, I don't see that because nothing has ever shut the world down. And I think that right now, we need to start working together to make sure that we can come out of this better than we went into it.
My guest is Glenn Turner of the Emergency Feeding Program, Executive Director. Again, Mr. Turner, thanks for what you do. Let's make sure that we stay in touch. when you have needs, make sure that you know for sure that we are a resource to get the word out for you.
Yes, sir.
So that we can do what we can to help you help others. And again, just thanks for what you're doing. And again, you're not even you weren't even supposed. You were supposed to be here. You found out that someone broke in, cut the line, the gas, stole all the fuel, and now you have food sitting in a donated refrigerator that is going bad. You need to take care of that. And thank you for taking the time. And one of the reasons that I wanted to have you here, and I know you have work to do, is so folks could hear in an emergency what is happening to people who serve folks, and how this multiplies and how it works. And so I know you got to go, but again, thank you for taking the time. And let's make this a situation for those out there who are listening, that he did not waste this time being on the air explaining to me what had happened to him when he needed to be doing something else to take care of other folks. And I know that's what you wanted to do. So thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for having me, Tony. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
Okay. Bye-bye.
You're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio .world, coronavirus pandemic impacts of South Seattle and surrounding areas. We'll be back right after this.
This is Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not helping bad girls set up their websites, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio .world.
Got Funny live on Rainier Avenue Radio .world.
Every Tuesday, 7 p.m. to 7:30 p.m.
You got funny? Bring it.
Hey y'all, it's me, Deontay, your host for Got Funny, where we got comedians, laughter, and a whole bunch of other. Join me Tuesdays at 7 p.m. to 7:30 right here on Rainier Avenue Radio World.
This is your Rainier Avenue Radio .world community update on free online exercise classes. The YMCA of Pierce and Kitsap counties has launched more than 60 free online exercise classes and youth programs to support the health and well-being of the community. Classes include boot camp, yoga, weightlifting, boxing, tai chi, and more. Find classes at ymca360.org. No membership is needed to access these classes at ymca360.org.
What the hell do you know about politics? Probably not a lot, but guess what? You're in luck. Now we have a show for you here at Rainier Avenue Radio called Politics Off the Cuff every Thursday at 3:30, hosted by, well, me, Cliff Cawthon. So tune in, learn something, stay woke.
Protegiendo a poblaciones vulnerables. No seas un transmisor del virus. Si eres un adulto joven y eres contagiado con el coronavirus, puede ser que estés bien. Incluso no podrías presentar síntomas, pero si se lo transmitiste a tu abuela, quien a su vez se lo transmitió a tu abuelo, antes de que te des cuenta, pudiste haber eliminado una generación entera. Cuando se trata del coronavirus, tienes que pensar a quién le puedes transmitir el virus. Entonces, practica el distanciamiento social, evita las multitudes, lávate las manos, y si tienes la opción de quedarte en casa, hazlo. Haz tu parte y no seas un transmisor del virus. Este mensaje es un servicio público de Rainier Avenue Radio .world y Somali Youth and Family Club.
This is Rainier Avenue Radio .world.
Vaayirasii koronaa kun dhugoomsa. Hin dagatinaa harka keessan dhiqatu. Vaayirasiin koronaan haga guyyaa 9 gubbaa jiraachuu danda'a. Kanaafuu meeshaa namni dhukkubeetuudhaan qulqulleessuun gaariidha. Hatta yoo harka yeroo hunda dhiqxanis yoo bilbila tuuxan jarmiin harkarratti ta'a jechuu. Bilbila keessan yoo qulqulleessitanii beetan yoo namni qufa'ee jarmiin xiqqoo lafa irratti bu'a. Achi booda harkaan tuuxan. Baay'inaan fuula keenya yeroo 16 tuqna sa'aatitti jechuu. Akka malee barbaachisa harka keessan dhiqatuun. Waan hunda qulqulleessuun bilbila keessanis qulqulleessuu qabdan jechuu. Ergaan kun uummata tajaajila raadiyoo Rainier Avenue of World fi Somali Youth and Family Club irraa isin dabarsinaa.